Well, welcome to our Module 2 live session. It is 6:30 Central Standard Time, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I realize there might be some people still coming in, but I want to make sure and respect Stephanie, who is here online. I just want to respect your time. So as I get started, I want to do a quick sound check. Stephanie, can you hear me okay? Sorry, can you say that again?
Yes, I can.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. And can you see the PowerPoint okay?
Yep.
All right, good. So we're in good shape. So just make sure to just mute your microphone at this time, and then you can unmute it at any time you want to participate in the discussion. It just helps cut down on the background noise. So, so yeah, basically tonight's agenda. So welcome. This is our agenda for tonight. We will do introductions, live classroom expectations, discussion rubric, important reminders, check-in, week 1 takeaways, field experience reports, the planning cycle, observation reporting methods, writing learning objectives, comprehensive lesson planning, and then you will have time to ask questions. So there is a lot to actually cover tonight. So I'm going to continue on. So if you are watching this recording, please briefly introduce yourself, your name, the state you live, the type of program you're in, and if there was money was not an object, where would you like to travel and why? I could start out with myself. So as most of you know, my name is Mike Hager. I am currently residing in Denver, Colorado. I have a master's degree in early childhood education and work as an administrator for Adams County Head Start. If time and money was no object, I would travel to Brazil. My mom is from Brazil, and she talks about how beautiful the country is and how beautiful the beaches are. So now I'd like for you, Stephanie, since you're the only one who is online, just to share a little bit about yourself, the type of program that you're in, and if your favorite place to travel if money was no object.
My name is Stephanie Messman. I live in Mott, North Dakota, and I work for Hettinger County Head Start, and we share it in our classroom is in our school districts. We have that partnership with our school. And if my favorite place to travel if no money and time was no object, I would go to Ireland. I just really want to go there. The country is beautiful, and I would love to visit it.
Well, thank you for sharing, Stephanie. You know, I'm originally from North Dakota too myself. I just wanted to let you know that. I'm from Michigan, North Dakota, so on the eastern part of the state. And yeah, basically, thanks for sharing. I don't know if I shared that with you, but yeah, it's kind of nice to have another North Dakota person in class.
Yes, I agree.
How's the weather out there?
It's been rainy and cold, and it snows off and on, so it's been miserable.
Yes, I was talking to my mom and dad, was it last night or the night before, and they said they got like 6 inches of snow up there already.
Oh, we haven't had any collecting snow yet, but it's just been off and on, and it melts right away, but I don't know.
Gotta love North Dakota weather.
Right.
Well, it's kind of the same here in Colorado. I mean, it's raining pretty often now, but we're so used to like 90-degree heat, and then out of the blue, fall didn't come out. It feels like winter now all of a sudden.
Yep.
It's kind of crazy. Awesome. Well, I'm going to keep going on. I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to share a little bit about the live classroom session expectations. So this course will have 2 live classroom sessions that I will lead to expand on the current module topics. These sessions are offered in Module 2 and Module 5. The next live session will be Tuesday, October 30th at the same time, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So this basically the purpose of the live classroom sessions is just to engage with your peers and myself in conversation about the course concepts to further your learning. Interactive classroom sessions encourage open dialogue and questions are encouraged. If you cannot attend the live session, like I know most of you guys were not able to attend, I will post a video either probably the next day. Sometimes I do it the same night. And then you'll have to complete the live session quiz to answer the questions that I asked the class during the presentation in order to receive the full credit. Do you have any questions, Stephanie, with live classroom session expectations?
Nope.
All right. I'm going to move forward. So something that's a little bit different that Rasmussen, I think some professors, some instructors have been doing it. I know I have never done the discussion rubric before, but colleges implementing that all instructors do discussion rubrics. So just wanted to show you a little bit about what the grading rubric has been, or what it is. I know we didn't have it in the last discussion, but it's going to be added now for this discussion throughout the course. So as you know, the rubric was not applied to the Module 1 discussion, and now it is for future discussions. The purpose of it is the discussions is to create the conversational environment of an in-person classroom. I hope that the rubric gives you guys guidance for the expectations to create strong discussion posts and receive full credit. If I feel like you have not fully met the expectations of the initial discussion post, I may ask you a follow-up question. Sometimes I just like asking you guys follow-up questions because I'm interested in the topic. But basically, you know, just by answering the additional question, you can improve your score. And your responses to my follow-up questions are due, and with your peers too, on Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Do you have any questions, Stephanie?
Not so far.
All right. I'll probably keep asking you if you have any questions as we move along.
Okay.
So important reminders, be sure to look closely to the course calendar for due dates. I don't want to deduct any points for late assignments. My goal in my ideal world is for everyone to get an A. I know that is not sometimes realistic, but I try to shoot for that. The college policy for late assignments is a 10% deduction for each day that an assignment is late. Just note that if you have something going on, I understand life happens, and I'm very flexible. Let me know. I do show a lot of grace as long as you get your assignments turned in, you know, within, at least if there's something going on, I'll probably give you a day or two to finish them up. But if you don't let me know, I have no way of actually helping you. So the communication piece is big. So just let me know if there's anything going on, if you cannot get an assignment done on time. So yeah, so this does apply. It does apply to discussion posts as well. Assignments are due by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time on Sunday, and then the initial discussion posts are due every Tuesday by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. So tonight they will be due for the Module 2. Discussion responses to peers, like I said, are due 11:59 p.m. every Saturday. And then for full credit in discussions, please respond to at least one peer as well as any questions I ask you. You are encouraged to respond to more than one peer if you would like. To expand your learning, refer to the course calendar for Module 6 assignments and discussions as they are different. Everything on that week is due by the last day of class, which is Tuesday, November 6th. Do you have any questions?
Nope.
All right. So just wanted to check in with everybody. If you're viewing this on the recording, this is some questions I would like for you to answer, checking in. So how's it going so far? Week new information, what kind of new information did you guys take away from Module 1? Are you guys been able to navigate through the course modules, discussions, general course questions, so on? And then have you had a chance to begin with your field experience observations? And are there any barriers that are preventing you from completing this? So how's it going, Stephanie?
So far so good. As far as like navigating through everything, I have not had any issues finding anything or doing anything. For field experience observations, it has been going pretty good. I'm kind of looking at one kid already, and I have like chances throughout the day, like we have a work time twice a day, and I'm able to observe him then. And I've been kind of watching him out, like what he does outside and stuff like that. So it hasn't been too bad.
Well, thanks for sharing. Is there any barriers that you see that
Not
might?
really. Not
No?
so far.
Good, that's good. And if you guys do have any barriers, just make sure to contact me. Like I said, I'm pretty flexible. I just need to know. If I don't know, then I can't really help you. So just make sure to be in constant communication if you have anything that is getting in the way. I see that there is somebody else online, but I can't tell who it is. Hello?
Hello.
Who am I talking to?
This is Courtney Williams.
Hi, Courtney. Welcome. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. So I was just talking with Stephanie a little bit about how class is going. How's things going for you so far?
So far, everything's going good.
Good. Is there any takeaways that you took away from week 1, and did you have a chance to begin your field experience observations?
I haven't. We had this week has been kind of crazy. Our center was closed yesterday for Columbus Day, so we kind of got back into the groove of everything today, and so I didn't get a chance to observe anybody today, but hopefully tomorrow everything will be kind of settled down. We had some new students and everything start today too, so it's kind of everywhere today.
Sure, after a long weekend, it's hard to get back into that rhythm.
Oh, yes.
I do understand. We had Columbus Day off too as well. So yeah, it was a little bit hard to get back into the swing of things. Do you foresee any barriers that is preventing you to complete your field experience at all?
The only thing that I would probably say would be a barrier, which hopefully it's gonna, it'll be better in the next couple of days. We lost a teacher, so I'm not able to step out as much as I was in like my first field experience. So that's the only thing is so hopefully I can step out on days that we're a little bit lower in numbers and we're within ratio, and I can step into the because I like to observe some of the older kids too, because I work with the infants and toddlers, so I like to observe
Sure.
some of the older kids, but like the time that I would be able to observe them, they're down for naps, so it's kind of hard.
Yeah, you can't really observe much when they're napping, huh?
Not at all.
So Courtney, I was going to back up a little bit. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you reside, where you live, why you're going to school, and just a little bit about yourself. If there was, money was no object, where would you like to travel?
Oh, wow. Everywhere. No, I live in Batavia, Illinois. It's about 45 minutes outside of Chicago in the western suburbs. I work with infants and toddlers. The reason with really going back to school was I was going to school, and then I got a good job that I thought at the time was really good. So I stopped going to school and I worked full time. But then after a while, I was like, I can't do this. It was retail. I was like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. So I got into childcare, and I first got my CDA, and I was like, oh, I could do this. And then I started working, and then I had my son, and I was like, you know what, I need to go back to school because I wanna accomplish that for myself. I just want to say that I did it, and then there's more opportunities for me because I like daycare, but sometimes I feel like I want to go into like a public school. So, I'll figure that out later. But that's mainly my motivation is, to finish for myself and to have that under my belt. And if I could travel anywhere, Greece has been on my top of my list. I just keep looking at pictures and everything, and I'm like, okay, that's on my bucket list. I'm going to get there one day.
Nice. Well, thank you for sharing, and welcome to class. I did go over a few things before you did come on. I went over what our agenda was, the live classroom expectations, and discussion rubric, and some important reminders. So just make sure to review some of that. If you have any questions, or if you have any questions, you could ask at any time. It looks like it's just Stephanie and you right now. So yeah. So do you guys have any questions for me?
Not at this time.
Not yet.
All right. Well, I'm going to move on to a field experience report. So each module field experience report will prompt you to focus on a key area of practice. So last week you guys were focusing on locating state policies and procedures. Just make sure that to examine it early in each module to ensure that you know what to focus on for your upcoming field experiences. Then at the end of the module, you'll report how many field experience hours you completed, along with a reflection on your experience. An overview of each module key area of practice is in this chart here that I put up for you. Reflection by its very nature is just its very personal experience. As such, there is no right or wrong answers. It's the habit of reflecting upon your effectiveness as an educator that is the most important. Consequently, my feedback may be brief. In your written responses, just make sure to use complete sentences as well as proper punctuation and grammar. If you do struggle with that, there is an online library that you can use for your reference. All right, so do you guys have any questions? Sorry, I'm gonna keep going.
Nope.
No.
All right, so I'm going to jump in to some of the material and talk about the planning cycle. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the planning cycle, but I'm going to talk a little bit about it. The first step, when you're doing a planning cycle is to identify what your subject is. Before planning any kind of curriculum, it's really important to identify for whom you're planning it for. One of the things that I really want you guys to consider are the following reflection questions as you do choose your subject. What do you know about the child's development, progress, areas of growth, home life, and interests? I don't know how your program takes intake information about the children, but I think that's a good way for you to kind of explore and see what the child is like, and then just observe what those areas are in home life and interests and such as like that. And then the next thing that you really want to do is you want to make sure to answer this question: what do you want the child to do or learn as a result from the lesson? And then we will get a little bit more into that later. But it is important to understand this information to set attainable outcomes for your child as well as develop your lesson plans. Basically, you don't want to have a child start writing if they can't even grasp a pen, So making sure that you know where the child is developmentally is always a good thing. After you identify, the next thing is the planning stage. So once you identified the subject with some background information about the child's development progress, home life, interests, then the planning actually can begin. And planning should include aspects such as materials needed, step-by-step instructions, transition and support strategies for the environmental considerations. Writing out your plan is a pretty good way to help you see how it will come together. Then the next thing to do after you plan is you want to implement it. So implementation of your plan will only be effective if the child is actively engaged with your plan. So like you said, Courtney, you said that the only time you can observe right now is when the children are sleeping. Well, that will not be a good time for implementation because you can't do anything if the children are sleeping. So what you want to do is make sure that you have like the implementation time, like free choice time is a pretty good time to implement your plan. It's also a good opportunity for the child to investigate and discover new skills and understandings. So picking a time when to implement the plan is really important too as well. The next thing you want to do is observe. Being cognizant while each activity unfolds is really imperative to the rest of the cycle. So we ask the question as educators: what is working, what is not working, what learning is taking place, and how do I know? So during your observation time, you should be taking a lot of notes of your observations. There are different ways you could take observations depending on what you're looking for in the behavior of the child. And we'll discuss a little bit more on that on the next slide of different observation methods and techniques. So continuing on, after that, after you observe, you want to adjust your plan. So each lesson can always expand growth. As educators, we need to really reflect on how we can continue to meet the individual learning and development needs of the child. How can we adapt the lesson to ensure you accommodate diverse learners? And then finally, what are the next steps we can bridge the lesson authentically into the child's home and community? So as we know, the learning process doesn't end at school, and it is our job to inform the parents and guardians of these children what we are doing so we can share that information with the parents at home. So basically what you're doing in your classroom should be you're starting out the process, but they should be doing something at home, and you should really try to encourage that with your parents. I know if you do work at Head Start, there is a lot of family engagement stuff that you can do. I'm sure that your program already implements. So basically, it just helps the child master the outcome when there is dual support in the classroom and at home. It does build the child's strengths, and it does scaffold their learning. The next thing is assessing. So to complete the planning, we must reflect the lesson's effectiveness. First, were the learning outcomes met, and how do we know? What does the child know now? What are the next steps in the child's development and learning goals? And then the last thing you really want to do is you want to repeat. So what could have changed so the lesson could have been more effective? Maybe you didn't gather as much information on the child, like interests and family lifestyles. So it's just important to get as much information as you can to meet those outcomes that are attainable for the child. Do you currently use the planning cycle as an ongoing process, and how do you think that will affect your teaching practices? So if you are viewing this recording online, please answer the 2 questions when you do submit the live section part of your assignment. So do you guys currently use the planning cycle as an ongoing process? And what do you think will affect your teaching practices? Kind of want to hear from you guys, Stephanie and Courtney. How have you guys currently use the planning cycle? How's it going?
I guess I'll start. We use it every week because we do our planning days on Fridays. That's where we sit down. We look at what we have observed through the week to see where each kid is at. Then we try to plan activities to either help them with those areas or to enhance it more or whatever. Right now, obviously, we've just started our school year, so it's kind of new. So we're just kind of getting like basic fine motor, gross motor, basic things right now. So it's not as detailed, but we use it every week. Every week we sit down and we do this and we go through everything, and we go through all the steps. If we do something and it doesn't go as we wanted it to, but we still think it's something good, we can, by that next Friday, sit down again and say, okay, we want to do this activity again because we know we can do it better, and, like I said, adjust and differentiate for everybody and try it again.
Thanks for sharing, Stephanie. Some things that I have my teachers do in my classroom is I have them videotape themselves, because a lot of times teachers don't know what they're actually saying or doing in the moment. But if they have them recording themselves, and if they're comfortable with it, I have them look at video just to see what they could have actually done. And a lot of times they don't even realize that they're doing something or not doing something.
Yeah,
So
that's something we kind of started last year. We started videotaping ourselves, but then you really get a full picture of what's going on. If you're concentrating on like a small group of kids, you might be looking at 1 or 2 of them and you don't really see what the other ones are doing. So it is interesting to watch it to see, well, I'm talking to this kid, what are these other ones doing? So it's interesting. You learn a lot.
Yeah, it's a good practice, and I know a lot of early educators don't like it. A lot of my teachers absolutely despise it and probably despise me because I like doing it. But I think that's just how you get better as a teacher.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you're seeing the things that you don't normally see.
Right, right.
How about you, Courtney? Do you currently use the planning cycle as an ongoing process?
Yes and no. It's not. We're kind of just starting it. It's funny that we're in this particular time with the class, and we got. What I should say is we just got new ownership, and they're changing like a whole bunch of stuff around, and it's the new owners bringing in their teaching styles and their and everything. So we're actually just kind of implementing this. I mean, we were doing something like this before, but it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was as detailed. I mean, we would sit down and talk about it, but it wasn't. I don't think it was like really implemented.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as videotaping, no, we don't do that. Maybe I should start. I mean, I don't really like to see myself on camera, so but I mean, like you said, it'll show you stuff that you're doing and you're not doing, and just like Stephanie said, sometimes you do only focus on a couple kids and you don't really pay attention to like the other, you don't mean to, but it's kind of like you get so stuck on the other kids that you don't really focus in on, okay, well, what are their areas?
Sure, and that's something I'm actually going to be doing a training on with our whole program this coming Friday is active supervision and how to reposition yourself and just different things to that extent. Because a lot of times we do get comfortable and we get so focused on the child that's in front of us or the child that is maybe having difficult behaviors that we forget about what little Johnny is doing over here in the corner. And maybe little Johnny is doing great, but I mean, recognizing all those children, even the ones that are always doing good too. Sometimes we just forget about those children.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Do you guys have any questions with the planning cycle?
No.
I don't have any.
All right, I'm going to keep moving on. So methods of recording observation. I just wanted to go over this real fast. There's probably something that you guys already know, maybe you don't, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit because I thought it's a little bit important, especially as we are doing a lot of observation during planning time. So I talked a little bit about in our last slide, so in chapter 2 there was a whole section just devoted to methods of recording observation. There are several different observational methods, and then in choosing an observation method, you just must determine what is it you want to learn from the observation. So, like I said, I just wanted to break it down a little bit and just kind of give you an understanding of what they are. So you got the very first one, the running record forms and anecdotal records. Those two are the most common forms of observations. Basically, running records are just detailed narrative accounts of behaviors or events written sequentially as an incident occurs. So basically, it's kind of a play-by-play of behaviors of events that are happening. Opposed to anecdotal records are like a short story that educators use to record a significant incident that they have observed. It can be written down after the behavior has taken place. So basically those two are the ones that are mostly used by educators. And then you also have the checklist and development checklist, rating scales, time sampling, event sampling. So basically with the checklists are just more of a formal assessment that allows an educator to notate the presence or absence of some criteria with no details of events. A lot of times we do little checklists. If little Johnny is coming in the morning with a runny nose, we might mark our health and safety checklist saying that, X Johnny has on next by Johnny's name, and then there might be a column that says runny nose or something, so we know that we're taking track of that. So that's basically what that kind of checklist or a checklist of that caliber is like. And then there's the developmental checklist. If you are in Head Start, you probably know the HISLOF, the Head Start Early Learning Framework, Outcome Framework. Basically, developmental checklists, they're assessment tools that list a series of criteria to indicate the presence or absence of specific behaviors to represent a child's development. Is little Johnny grasping a pencil? Can little Johnny jump on 1 foot? Stuff to that caliber. Then you also have the rating scale. A rating scale is a checklist that has been modified to include various levels of quality. So in our state, in Colorado, early childhood programs use the Colorado Shines as a rating scale. Basically, it's a rating scale that demonstrates the quality of an early learning program or center. The higher the rating, the more money companies can charge to enroll their children into that particular program. That usually happens a lot with preschools, daycares, not federally funded, obviously not federally funded programs. And then there's time sampling and event sampling that kind of go hand in hand. Time sampling just focuses on problem behaviors to see how often they occur. So an observer has a set time to observe the behavior and then check out how often the behavior occurs. Opposed to event sampling is usually a series of short observations to confirm a child's behavior pattern in order to provide suitable strategies to manage the child's behavior effectively. So it pretty much just confirms that the behavior is happening at different times throughout the day. That's the difference between time sampling and event sampling. So having a little bit more knowledge about this, which observational approaches and documentation methods do you think will be most useful to you and why? And if you're watching this recording, please share this response. So Stephanie and Courtney, thinking about this, maybe you've already done it, but which observational approaches and documentation methods do you think will be most useful to you during your field experience?
I think the anecdotal record, which we do use already, will be useful because it, like you said, with Head Start, with our curriculum, it kind of lists each level. So then we write little anecdotes on each one of those levels so we know where the kids are at and everything. So those will come in really useful. And possibly the checklist.
Yeah, do you use any checklists currently at your site?
Not really. Not really. It's more the anecdote and the running record form, that kind of thing.
Sure. Cool. How about you, Courtney?
Well, right now with being in the infants and toddlers, we definitely do the developmental checklist, because I mean, even though we're changing some things around, that is something that our director and our owner really pay attention to, and they're like really on it, like because we have had some instances where a child wasn't developing like they should, and so the parent actually took them to like a therapist and everything. So in our center we definitely pay attention to that. I'm not able to see the live mod right now, so I can't remember the first few parts that you were talking about.
Oh, are you having a hard time trying to see the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I can't see the PowerPoint, so that's why I called in so that I could still participate. I don't know, I tried it on 2 of my computers, and this morning they were working. This afternoon, they both power down.
Oh, no worries. So, like, so you're just want to get clarity. So you can't see the question?
No. On one of my computers, it'll take me to putting my name in and putting my email in, and then it'll take me like right before it's gonna let me join, but it goes blank.
Oh,
interesting. And then my other computer just won't let me do it at all anymore.
Okay. Interesting. You might want to reach out to IT just to see what's going on with that.
And I tried it earlier just to make sure that everything was working fine, and it was. And then I try to log in multiple times, and it just takes me to a blank screen.
Interesting. All right. Do you guys have anything else to add with that? Is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay. So I'm just going to move on to the last thing that we have for tonight. It is writing a learning objective using SMART goals. So in one of this week's assignments, you're to come up with a comprehensive lesson plan where all learning objectives must be stated as SMART, goals and objectives. So what are the SMART goal objectives, and how do we include this in our comprehensive assignment? First off, let's review what the characteristics of the SMART goal objective is. So you have specifics, so your goals meet the needs of the children while upholding program and early learning standards. Do you know exactly what you want to accomplish with all the details? Goals must be well defined. The next thing they need to do is they need to be measurable. How will you know if the goal is met? Will you use formal assessments with the children, and what will that look like? The next thing we want to ask ourselves is it attainable? Is it developmentally appropriate? The individual child in the typical development, is your goal a challenge but still possible to achieve? And then you want to talk about, is it realistic? Again, you want to consider DAP, the individual child and typical development. You want to look at the benchmarks for your state's early learning standards, or for, like I said earlier, Head Start has its early learning outcome framework for children in different ages. So is your goal realistic and within the child's reach? The next question you want to know. And the very last thing is, when will this goal be reached? You want to consider a timeline. Will it be in a week? Will it be a month? End of the semester, a year? So just make sure to have those things in mind when you are writing your learning objective using the SMART goals. So I wanted to share something with you tonight, something that I've done with my daughter. I don't know how well you could see it. but this is the comprehensive lesson plan. Excuse me. So, you know, the assignment for this week is to come up with a lesson plan. So this is what I did with my daughter using SMART goals. Basically, you want to put the name, her name, I initialed, the date you want to be implemented. So for me, I did the mealtime routine. She is going to be, she's at like 34, 35 months. Her group size will be individual, and basically we want it SMART. So by the end of the lesson, the children, or my daughter Annika, should have been able to begin with, and you want to use a verb. So here I have uses hand-eye coordination when participating in a routine such as carrying food, eating with silverware, drinking out of a cup, pouring liquid into a cup, and eating with her fingers. Basically, over here in, try to get there. Here's the activity over here of how will the activity promote that for learning and growth. And over here you want to put how it would do that. So for gross motor and fine motor, providing opportunities to have Annika use forks, spoons, eat with fingers, smelling and touching different foods, pour water into a cup, drinking water from a cup, carrying food and passing food will help strengthen her motor skills and hand-eye coordination. And basically I did that with, so the next one with the learning goals, identifies different food in correlation to shapes, colors, and quantity during mealtime. So what I'm doing, I'm making sure it's really specific. I want to, you know, identify food in shapes, colors, and quantity during mealtime. Well, how am I going to get there? Identifying different foods by their shape and color. Example, an apple is a red circle. You know, just giving them more descriptive. Seeks information in meeting words by asking questions, and words such as what is that, who's that, why, or what happened at mealtime. And then the language, this implementation of visuals. I'm sure you guys do that already, especially if you are in Head Start. I know probably Stephanie has been doing this probably with her class. On a daily schedule board of the child eating at the table and reading specific books and regarding to mealtime and asking questions to scaffold their learning. So basically, I'm not going to go through all of them, but this is kind of an example of what I did. So basically, this is what, by the end of the lesson, this is what Annika should know or be able to do. And this is over here is how we're going to get there in each domain. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and if it doesn't make sense, just use this as a reference. You know, basically think about this is what she will be able to do. This is how we're going to get there. So this is what you're going to do. This is the ultimate goal, and this is how we're going to get there. So basically, that is pretty much it for our live session tonight. Do you guys have any questions? And if you are viewing this online, I will have this posted. Just make sure to answer any questions that I have. And basically, yeah, just you guys have any questions?
The only question I had, I guess, was for the date to be implemented. Is that the date that you plan to do the lesson?
That is the date. No. Date to be implemented is when you want to achieve it by.
Oh, okay.
So when do you want those learning objective goals to be reached? So kind of like, you know, we talked about the SMART goals, the timeliness.
Mhm.
You want it to be done in a week. You want it to be done in a year. When is it realistic for them to progress to where you want them to reach their goal?
So you could give it a month's time or whatever, and that would be your date then?
Yeah. So basically, if you start observing now and then you start an activity, say tomorrow, maybe you want them to achieve it by the end of class. Sometimes the first week of November, let's say. So then you could just want to put that date to be implemented up there.
Okay.
Hopefully I explained that okay.
Yeah. I just wasn't sure if that was the date that we had to put when you were gonna implement the lesson plan or do the actual lesson, or what for sure was supposed to be. So that cleared that up for me.
Yes. And for some reason, if I have mistakenly said something to you, I will reach out to you and I will reach out to the whole class.
Okay.
So I will follow up and confirm on that, just so you have reassurance.
Okay.
Do you guys have any other questions?
I don't think I do.
No.
Do you have any questions, Courtney?
No, I'm gonna go back and try to, you know, rewatch or try to get logged in so that I could, you know, watch it so I can see, you know, what you guys were saying.
Yeah, and basically it's just important dates, and I just went over important dates and live classroom the expectations, and then the discussion rubric, which I feel like is important because it's new for me, and it might be new for you guys too as well. So, but yeah, go back and you could rewatch the recording. But since you guys both were here online, you guys don't have to do anything, and you guys will get all full points for participating tonight. So I want to say thank you for participating. It was actively engaging. So yeah. And then, like always, if you guys have any questions or if you have any anything that's coming up, please let me know. Just reach out to me so I am aware of it, and if I can make a note. And then as far as your question, Stephanie, with the date to be implemented, I will follow up with you and the class regarding that by tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Do you guys have any other questions?
Not at this time, I don't.
All right. Well, thank you guys for participating, and you guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
Thanks.